listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, LA. Today we're going to be asking whether or not you have ever wanted to take a leap. And no, I don't mean jumping off a bridge. What I mean is, have you ever wanted to get out of your comfort zone and try something new? And if you have, but haven't done it, maybe you're wondering, how the heck would I go about doing it? Well, we're going to get into that today, and I have some really special guests in the studio with me. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce myself. I am Katerina Cozias. You're tuning into LA40, which is Life After 40, the show where we remind you, Gen Xers, myself included, that it's never too late to try something new. And contrary to what society tells us, no, we're not dead at 40. We don't have to go home. We don't have to slow down. We actually take all of the things we learned between the ages of 0 and 39, and we tap into the power that we have, and that's when we start to make a difference. And these guests are a testament to that. I'm joined in studio today by writer, producer, and now author Craig Tomashoff.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Have you thought about retitling it just for today, Life Way After 40? Because that would be me.
Is that would be you?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I may need to chat with you about that after the show.
All right.
And we are also here joined by the absolutely beautiful Tensha Berry and her husband Raphael Berry. Raphael
Hello.
and Tensha are business owners, entrepreneurs, and they're here because their iconic restaurant, if you're local to LA, I know that you have heard of this restaurant. You have probably eaten there, Berri's Cafe and Berri's Kitchen. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to be here. First of all, today marks the 20th anniversary of Berri's Cafe on 3rd in West Hollywood. Congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed.
That is a milestone.
It is. It's been a fantastic journey for us, Tensha and I. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
We were talking that food and beverage is one of those things that everyone thinks about maybe getting into. Should I start a restaurant? Should I tap into that? It's one of the hardest things to keep alive. And especially in a city like Los Angeles, there is a restaurant, a cafe, a bar opening up every day on every corner. How did you manage to build a reputation, create such a beautiful restaurant, expand it, because now you have over 100 people working for you, 3 locations. I heard you're opening up a 4th. Tell us a little bit about your story.
You want to start?
Well, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of hard work, but obviously it was also very enjoyable along the process, all the memories that we made.
Right.
And when we see the growth, Berri's is our baby. We call it our little baby. It happened 20 years ago before we even had kids. And
that was your first baby.
It's our first baby.
We weren't
Right?
even married or
We weren't
engaged.
even married yet. We had
Wow.
met, I think, in 95.
Okay.
And by 96, we were...
Business owners.
Exactly.
Wow.
But I thought by opening the restaurant, I think the idea was for us to see, are we capable of having babies or not? So
That was the first test.
It's almost
So-
as much work.
So we did it, and it's funny because we did it with a very simple idea, and it did not cost us a lot of money to do it when we start.
Okay, what was the idea behind it?
But the
Concept.
We started, first of all, it was on a trip to Paris.
Okay.
It was a trip to Europe. And the idea first was a sandwich shop.
Okay.
And then as soon as we came back, it was just totally changed to something different.
Now I'm going to stop you right there, Tensha, for just a minute, because you mentioned Paris.
Yes.
Now, Raphael, you're coming from France.
Correct. I grew up in Paris. Yeah.
Right. And so part of the reason I was excited to have you on the show was because you really did take a leap in a couple of ways. One, your career before becoming a restaurateur was actually interior architecture.
Correct.
So you did 23 years, I think, of that.
Correct.
And then you decided to complete career shift. And also, I think you moved from France to the U.S. You did that earlier, though, right, in the 80s? You
In
came over?
1984.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit of your back history of how you went from being an interior architect to wanting to open a restaurant? And then we're going to get back into Tensha's side, which is how the idea evolved. Because it's really, again, if you're local to L.A., we're going to get to why you want to check this place out.
Yeah.
But when I was in Paris, as an interior architect, I find that it was difficult for me to do other things beside architecture. So, and I was invited to come to the Olympics in 1984 in LA. So when I came, I fell in love with the city.
Were you an Olympian? Were you
I was.
competing?
I was.
In what?
Yeah, I was a kickboxer, karate kickboxer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you came to the 1984 LA Olympics.
Correct.
And you fell in love with the city.
Correct.
Not surprised.
Yeah. So So when I came, I find the city unbelievable. So
Yes.
I felt at home right away.
Right.
So I decided to come back and live here. So I went back, sold my company to my partner, and I moved in 1985.
Now, was that hard to do? To
Oh.
just sell everything you knew?
Leap of faith.
Leap of faith. Take the leap.
That was the leap I took, and I'm glad I did it. And so when I came here, I did not have the idea to open a restaurant or to be in the F&B business.
Okay.
And so I continue doing interior designing and architecture, and I find it very difficult here for me to do that. So 10 years passed by, and I met Tensha one
Lucky
day,
guy.
which she comes from the F&B and manufacturing.
Okay,
food.
so you
My
were
parents
familiar
have-
with this world.
Yeah, my parents have restaurant businesses in Los Angeles. They have Dana's Mexican food restaurants, but
Oh,
also
great.
we manufacture tortillas and chips and export to Japan, Korea,
Wow.
and to different places within the West.
So
side
big
of the
food
United
history
States.
on your side.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we met, took her to Paris to introduce her to my mom,
Uh-huh.
to get her blessing, see if she wanted to become. And so when we were in Paris at the airport, we were sitting at the sandwich place, a coffee place, and she said, "Raphael, you know so many people. You're an interior architect. You've been designing bar, lounge, restaurant for so many people. Why don't we open our own place?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
He was tired of the design business at that time.
Right.
It was a bad time.
It was a
also.
recession, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a
Yeah.
recession, and he just wanted to do something different. So
So we came back. I pretty much sold everything I had, and Tensha invested some of
he
her
was
money.
my leap of faith.
Sure.
Raphael.
And he was your life leap of faith.
Yes.
Exactly.
And like I said, we barely met, so we were
Right.
together like maybe for 6-7 months.
Oh wow! And
And,
just
uh,
wow. So
And
that's a whole separate show I want to get into. Is how do you know when you
Yeah.
know?
So we decided to put our saving together, and we
Okay.
come up with $17,000, and we opened Berri's Cafe.
Not a
with that
lot of
amount.
money to open up a
No.
restaurant.
No.
Not a lot at all. Wow.
And so they said, let's.
But you had a unique concept for the restaurant, and I think this is one reason it has remained and has become as popular as it has become. Some of the people, the frequent Berries, I'm going to get you to finish the story in just a minute, but for viewers at home and for those listeners that may not be familiar, it's a late night, well, it's not late night. It's open from 10 in the morning to 4 in the 4 in the morning.
Correct.
Exactly.
But I'm going to let you get into how you got to the concept yourself, so that you know at home, the iconic Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. I mean, the list of celebs that frequent Berries goes on and on and on. And so, the food, the vibe, the interior architecture. All came together to produce something wonderful. You started with $17,000. Okay, and then what happened?
Well, the concept, I never thought of the late night, but Raphael, being from a background in Europe where things don't really start until midnight, he came up with that part. And I was like, are you sure? I don't think this is going to work. And
LA is a little bit, I think because it's on the West Coast and it's so far removed from the rest of the world, you eat earlier, you go to
do.
bed earlier.
But he
and,
saw a niche. He saw a niche
uh-huh.
because it's not only, there's a lot of people that go
Correct.
out late night.
Right.
But not only those people that work late night as well.
But the problem.
You come out of a movie sometimes at 10 o'clock, 11, and there's nowhere to eat a full menu type of
Exactly.
meal.
Or maybe you're a performer, you did a comedy show, it's midnight,
Exactly.
Correct.
and you don't want to go to
Correct.
McDonald's.
But that's
right.
that was the thing when we start dating. Basically, if you go see a movie or to go see an opera or a play,
Sure.
we couldn't find anywhere to go to
Yeah.
have a meal after 11 o'clock. Everything was more fast food or junk food. And when you grow up in Paris, you're not used to eat that kind of food.
Right,
So,
there's a cultural
so the option I
essence
have,
to the cuisine.
yeah, the option, that was the only option I have. We had to go back home and cook, go to the market, shop, and cook.
And that's no
Oh,
fun, right? Yeah, well.
I
That's a lot
cooked
of
a
work.
lot for her. So we said, let's open a place,
Okay.
and then I decided that place is going to be open till 4 o'clock in the morning. Like
So Tensha,
if-
what did you think
yeah.
of this as, somebody that has been, born and raised on the West Coast?
I mean, I'm from the South Bay.
Oh, okay,
So I
yeah.
wasn't. I'm from Palos Verdes. Everything pretty much at 9 o'clock. It's dead. But he had something, and at the beginning I wasn't too sure. But he was there late night working hard, and that's his niche now. That's what we're known for.
Right.
And
That's why
I
we're
I didn't think at the time LA needed another restaurant. It needed something different. And that's where we come up with that concept, the 4 o'clock in the Berri's Cafe,
Right.
with the music, with the lighting, with the ambiance. So we created something a little bit more than just a restaurant. We created a venue, a place where
A destination
Place
point.
to go.
destination,
Abs-
basically.
absolutely.
We have so many international customers, people that come to LA and come to Berri's, exclusively, because that's what they're looking for. Like, they're looking for something that they can find where they're from as well. Open late night with music.
Well,
and-
I spent 5 years living in Europe, and then I spent 5 years living in Miami. And both of those places, we would go for dinner at 10:30 at night.
Exactly.
So when I moved out here to LA, and people were saying to me, "Okay, let's do dinner at 6," I'm thinking, dinner at 6?
Yeah,
Like,
and
I
you're
still get a
talking-
lot of that, yeah.
and you're talking about leap of faith. I mean, when I was telling my friend and our friend or our family, we decided to open a restaurant at 4 o'clock in the morning, everybody pretty much was laughing at us. They thought we were crazy. Said, why would you open a restaurant at 4 o'clock in the morning?
I'm going to get...
I told them you will see, and I proved them they were wrong, because today we have between 500 to 800 people come and eat at Berri's Cafe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to get back to that in a moment,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
know, Craig, you actually went through something similar. When you told people what your next move was going to be, you had a lot of naysayers, a lot of people saying to you, dude, you're crazy. Like, what are you thinking? But you managed to prove them wrong as well. So I do want to get back to that topic in just a minute. Can you tell us a little bit about the event happening tonight?
Oh, yes. So we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary, and we're going to have live music. We're going to have, obviously, delicious food.
A lot of surprises.
And a few surprises. Raphael hasn't even told me about some of the things that are happening, so I'm not sure what those surprises are.
So
But just,
basically,
all of our
yeah.
family, friends, and clientele that has become like family.
Right, yeah, big
Yeah.
celebration party for the frequent localers, and sort of a thank you, I think, to the
Yes.
clientele that has supported you all these years.
Absolutely. I
But-
mean, that's really, for me, it's the most important. First of all, we're celebrating the 20 years of our baby,
Yes.
which I think it's
Deserves a
amazing for-
celebration,
and,
yeah.
we raised an unbelievable baby, which is Berri's. And secondly, it's really to thank the friend, the community, the client. They've been coming to
Yeah.
Berri's.
Now
for
you know that's the
20
one
years.
thing I do like about what Berri's does. You do give back, and I know we mentioned this on the Thanksgiving episode, but I want to mention it again. Berri's Cafe, the team at Berri's gives back every year. You took a team of, I think you have 16 delivery cars.
We do.
And you took
Yes.
500 pizzas down
Yes,
to
every
Skid Row.
Thanksgiving we get
Yeah.
together and volunteers such as like our friends and mostly our kids' friends like love to come and get together and do something for the needy people. They cook the pizzas. They come with us in the cars. We drive down in our little like caravan of Berri's cafe
Fleet.
cars.
Yeah,
And
you'll see those driving around the town if you live here.
And pretty much it takes us about 2 hours to make all those pizzas, and it takes about 10 minutes to give them away.
And I'm sure you had some happy people on Thanksgiving
A lot of happy
that
people.
received
And
those.
the kids are happy
Yeah.
themselves because, they've given back on a day that is, supposed to be about giving thanks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we like to see their happy
How old are
faces.
your kids?
Our kids are 10, 12, and 14.
Oh, that's a great
And
age.
so
Sienna,
their friends
Orlando,
love
and
to give
Oliver.
back with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Craig,
it's
do you
great,
have
and
kids?
it's great to see them involve and do it.
Oh, no,
So
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I've got a 19-year-old college boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a 15-year-old. It's just wait.
Yeah.
It gets more fun, right?
We're getting there.
I don't know how you define fun,
Yeah.
but it's great. My daughter is 15 and
Okay.
in high school.
Right, yeah. It's a good age for them to learn about giving back. And they're at an age where they can contribute. Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
indeed, and they do, and it's funny because I see the reaction of my children when they do it, and makes them really humble. And even between them now, the way how they talk to each other, the way how they appreciate each other, just the fact that we make them do stuff like that, we show them stuff like that. I think they appreciate much more what they have and having each other as
Yeah.
well. I think to be
Yeah, it feels good to
family.
give back.
Right.
Yeah. It's a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we didn't start doing that now. We've been doing it for 20 years.
20 years. So
Yeah, yeah,
since
since
the
the
year you
beginning.
opened.
This is also a celebration of our employees because a lot of
Yeah.
our employees have been there for, let's say,
20
some
years.
even 20 years,
Yeah.
some 15 years.
Wow.
And they
Yeah.
become like family to us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
a thank you to them as well.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a testament to you, though, as business owners. And I think, again, one reason you've survived is because you need to be fair across the board, and that includes being fair and giving opportunity to people that work with you. If you can provide an environment where it feels like a family and it doesn't feel like work, I think that's when you are successful.
Absolutely. I think it is imperative to involve the employees, to let them take risk and be proactive in what they do, and that's what we do at Tensha now. We don't we just don't have a team just for them to do what they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to do what they think is right to do for the company.
Right.
So we encourage them to do that. We encourage them to. We have dishwasher, an example. When we start 20 years ago, they're the chef. They're cooking for you today.
Mm-hmm.
So we train them to become an amazing.
And
cooks.
I do have to make just a little interjection because I was introduced to Berries recently. I mean, again, I've only been in LA for about 8 months or so. Practically, I've been coming, but back and forth between LA and Miami, and I've eaten at Berries a few times. The last, and of course, being a woman and watching my figure, I was always eating lunch and eating light. So I had a few salads, which were lovely, but they're salads. I had the opportunity to try your steak the other day.
The iron steak.
The iron steak, the flat iron steak, and the sautéed vegetables and the sides, the mashed potatoes. I mean, there's a reason, folks. This is a late night destination point because of the quality of the food. Fantastic chef, fantastic food, and you were sharing with Craig before we started the episode. Part of that is because of the freshness of the food, because of the turnaround and the turnover that you have to go through because it is so busy every night.
Correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps tremendously to keep the consistency of the product and the freshness as well, because as I mentioned earlier, we have so many people come every day, and our space, or let's say our walk-in cooler, they're not big enough to stock a lot of food. So we basically,
you have to
I have a team go
keep
every
purchasing.
morning. Yeah, they
Right.
go every
It's
morning
fresh.
to the markets in downtown, and they
Well, the
purchase
vegetables I
product.
had were delicious.
Oh yeah, they're fresh, they're organic, and I think it's one of the most important elements in the company is to be able to have that freshness every day. Yeah.
Now you're also looking at opening up something here in Sherman Oaks.
We're coming to you guys.
There
We're
we
coming
go.
to Sherman Oaks. We're going to be on Ventura and Van Nuys.
Okay.
And,
So just down from here, not too far.
Like,
right.
not far from you.
Yeah.
It's going to be in 2017, so it's in construction.
Okay.
And we're opening a bakery on Beverly and Crescent Heights next month.
Oh, nice. Mhm.
We're opening on Venice Boardwalk in February. And we're opening in OC in 2017. So it's in
Orange County.
In Orange County.
Uh-huh.
So it's all in construction.
So
Yeah.
you're looking forward to the next 20 years.
Exactly. I think it's going to be my wife and my kids. I'm going to retire pretty soon. She put me to work.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
But I always say to the people, I think the most important things when you take a leap of faith to do something different, it is imperative for you to choose something you really like doing. And if you're passionate about it, there is no way you're not going to succeed. And there is no way you're not going to keep doing what you're doing. The fact that you believe in what you're doing and you enjoy doing it.
And I think that's exactly the point. I mean, Bill Gates didn't get up in the morning and say, I want to be the richest man in the world. Bill Gates got up and said, I love computers. I want to do this for 20 hours a day.
That's it.
And that's why he was successful. Absolutely.
That's
good
it.
point.
I think that's the only way really to be successful today, is really to believe in yourself and to believe in what you're doing and loving what you do.
But how, though, do you get to a point where you have the strength of character to start believing in yourself in a totally different line of work? How did you make that disconnect, other than saying, thankfully you had a partner who had a bit of a background in the food industry, so that helps, I'm sure.
That's why it is important for you to understand who you are, what you like, what you don't. And if you can pick the things you like and put them to motion, create that energy, and then you grow with it. I mean, I wasn't in the restaurant business when I opened Berry's Cafe. I designed restaurants, bar, lounge, nightclub, but I could see by just being a client and going to restaurants, I could observe the lack of service, lack of quality food, lack of design, lack of music, lack of vibes.
Right.
So pretty much I took that. I said, okay, if I'm going to do something I never tried before, let's do the things I really like first. And so I pretty much put the things I needed for myself. What do I like? I like the late night. I like the dim light.
I like good food. Right.
I like good wine. I like good presentation, and I like good service. So I took all the things I like, and we come up with the Berry's Cafe concept, basically.
And I think the fact that he was creative as a designer, Berry's was a creative outlet for him. He was able to design the place himself, get all the music together because he's very much into music,
Right.
create the atmosphere, talk to people.
Even probably the menu, all of
The
it.
menu,
there was
yes,
there was
the
a
logos,
creativity
the-
there. I think that's a
it's very
great point,
creative,
Tensha. Yeah.
He's always
Absolutely.
redesigning the restaurant, I want to say, every 2 years.
And I grew up in the kitchen with my mom, so I really have,
Yeah.
I think I have
passion
the
for-
right
for
palate
food.
for the food. Yeah,
Yes,
I do.
absolutely. And I think that's
Yeah.
one thing we need to point out to everyone, myself included, is, taking a leap sounds spontaneous, right? It sounds like, hey, I'm just going to do it. But in fact, it usually requires a lot more planning and a lot more mental conception. So taking a leap doesn't have to be instantaneous. It doesn't have to be spontaneous. It can happen, but it takes a while. I know with me personally, it took me almost 2 years to give myself mental permission to change out of corporate finance, which is what I was doing, and redirect myself to what I knew I always wanted to do, which was communications. But it's not easy to do that.
And here you are today.
And here I am today,
It
rocking
works.
LA Talk
It
Radio.
really works, and don't be afraid to try something you've never done before.
Right.
As long as you think it's something you like and something
Yeah.
you want to do, and if you try to be very surprised, what's going to come up? from
Right.
it.
Oh, absolutely. And on that point, we're going to move over to Craig here.
Great.
We're going to get you a little more involved with the conversation. Yours is really an interesting story as well, because this is a man, folks, who has a really, he's been in Hollywood for a long time. He produced the Queen Latifah Show. He has written for The Hollywood Reporter. He has written for the LA Times, the Huffington Post, was the associate bureau chief with People Magazine for a number of years.
I'm impressed by myself.
You're
now.
so
Jesus.
impressive, Craig.
Good job, Craig.
Thank you.
I had the lovely pleasure of interviewing Craig about 6 months ago now, Craig, I think it was,
Yep.
via the other show that I work with, Book Circle Online. If you follow me at home, some of you do. I know you watch me on Book Circle where we interview authors. Craig's newest venture is this book right here called The Candidates. And it's a book about... it's an interesting book. I'm going to let you talk about what the book's about. But
Okay.
before you do, Craig basically took his life, his repertoire, and decided to eject from it. Took 21 days, traveled 10,000 miles around the country to sit and talk to people who were candidates, who put their names on the list for President of the United States. 2016, there were 1,300 people in this land, including Donald Trump, who put his name on the down
Ballot.
to be considered President of the United States. And you went out to interview a handful of them with the most interesting stories to delve into sort of what made them dream. So chat with me a little bit about the candidates.
And by the way, I'm just a little disappointed you didn't bring steak for
Oh, there
everybody
you go.
today. So,
So I'm taking you for lunch after.
oh, okay, all
That's
right,
right.
good to know. I mean, it was a very long journey just to get ready to do the book or decide to do the book.
Now, by long journey, you mean mentally for you, long journey, or practically?
Nah, mentally more than anything else.
Okay, how so?
Like my entire life, going back to when I was in the fourth grade, cranking out fourth grade newspapers for, like, I would go to the mimeograph machine and like staple papers together and sell them. I always wanted to do a book. That was my thing. And just, not that I didn't try to do it. I would send out proposals for different ideas that I had, but got turned down every single time, and like 20 different rejections. And then I came up with this idea of just like what drives somebody to do this ridiculous thing, because we all assume, right, that they're crazy tinfoil hat wearing like guys in mom's basement. Right. Like there's a stereotype that anybody who's a real person who does this, they got to be nuts. And so I wanted to know what makes somebody. I mean, it's a perfect example of taking a leap, because these people, every one of them does it. What makes somebody wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to do this thing where I'm going to lose all my friends, my family will hate me, I'm going to lose my money,
Right.
and I will never succeed ever. There's zero chance I will be successful. Sign me up. Like, who does that?
But clearly 1,300 people did.
Yeah.
Right?
And actually, by the time
Including Donald Trump.
Including Donald Trump.
he is somewhere on the list. But although oddly, when I was doing my journey, I could kind of sense what was coming, which is part of what the book ended up being.
Could you really? Because you went through sort of this middle America, which is
Yeah.
really what skewed this election. They came out en masse, as we saw. Were you getting a little bit of that he might really be a contender?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much him specifically or Bernie specifically, but it was this notion that we're tired of everything being the way that it's been for the last, however many years. That you wanted something new and something different and something fresh. And Trump declared, I think about a week after I got back from my trip. And he was not something that anybody mentioned, but what everybody did say is that's why they're running, to be somebody who you just give a chance to somebody else. And that came across everywhere I went.
Now, when you told your friends, your family, your colleagues that you were going to write a book on this topic, what did they say?
I was actually just going to break out into laughter because that's pretty much what I got.
The support.
Yeah.
Thanks for the support, guys.
I think the best moment was like everybody thought doing the book made me as crazy as these people who tried to do it. And that is probably true, by the way.
Now, is that because people thought that no one would read your book? Why? Because writing a book, I mean, most people are pretty excited about that, no?
I think the notion that I heard over and over again was nobody cares about these people. So why would anybody buy a book about 15 people they've never heard of and don't care about? My feeling was, you don't know them yet. So, look at them and then judge afterward. But got turned down by every agent I tried, literally every single one.
Now, just to put a pause on that for a moment, Walt Disney got turned down by 305 people in a row that he went to for financing for the Walt Disney Corporation concept. And 305, he just kept going and going and said, you know what, someone is going to believe in my vision and come to the table to be a partner to finance this. And that was Walt Disney. So don't give up, people. It happened for Walt. It happened for Craig.
Yeah, actually what I would say about that, which is something that I discovered in the course of doing this book, everybody gets so hung up on the idea of success, like saying, I don't want to do something unless I'm the best at it. I'm the, I make $1 million at it.
Right.
But that's the worst reason to do something, is if you're so focused on the end result, then you're going to fail. Like you just are. That's how it works. But if you just go, I want to do this because it makes me feel good, whatever that it is, then it helps you. Then you can do it.
I always believe the ID make the money. The money does not make the ID. So that's how it is. Yeah.
And that was part of, I think, what drove you was to be an example to your kids. Can you share a little bit of that thought process?
It's actually something that came out when I started the book. All I thought I would do is have this fun, kind of crazy road trip, talk to some people who were a little out there, but sweet people, but a little bit out there. And as I went through, everything changed. My view of politics and how America works and changed. But with my kids, my son was about to graduate from high school. He was going to actually graduate 3 days after I got back. And first, I couldn't afford a car. Wouldn't give him one anyway, but couldn't afford a car. So I wanted to give him something that was meaningful, like something that would last. And I realized as I was going, well, it's this book, because it's a book about people who are taking a chance and doing something that everybody tells them is crazy. And I want him to learn, just because anybody, including your dad, says don't do it, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means if you want it, do it, and then see what happens.
That's a beautiful gift.
He hasn't read it yet, but he's a 19-year-old college kid. He's got parties to go to. So eventually
he will, absolutely.
Eventually
That's absolutely
he will.
correct,
When he has kids, then he'll go.
Right.
Oh, my
Thanks,
dad.
Dad.
My dad had thought.
So, Craig, talk to us for people that haven't read this book, and for Tensha,
which is
for
everybody pretty much,
for Raphael
but,
here. No, you have. It's basically a book about 15 different chapters with the stories of these 15 of the different people he found. Can you share a couple of these unique characters with us?
Oh yeah, they're all fascinating people I still hear from.
Okay.
Frequently, some of them frequently. There was actually some of the highlights going to Boise, Idaho, and meeting Harley Brown, the Hell's Angel, who looks kind of like Burl Ives in leather, if people remember Burl Ives. Who was great, bought me tons of beer, gave me a bunch of cigars.
Now, why would he want to run for president? What did he say to you?
Well, I'll tell you, but then it's going to distract from my point that they're not crazy.
Okay.
Actually, it works both ways, because what he told me was he was dead broke and his life was a mess, and he was driving a cab in Boise, and God came to him and said, "You're going to be president someday," and he figured, well, if God says it, got to be true, right? And that does sound a little crazy. But then in the course of talking to him, because I would do like 5-6 hour interviews with all these people, to really dig down to find out what made them do what they do. And Harley at one point started talking to me about how his job in the Navy was he had to be the guy to knock on the doors of the family who lost loved ones and tell them. And because he'd somehow ticked off the brass, they made him do it for 2 years. And as he said, like, that'll mess you up. And so the notion of what got him into running for president, that's a little crazy. But he actually even went to a priest and had them like validate this. He showed me like the
and you never know. I mean, we don't know that he may not still be president. You know, we don't know.
No,
he has a dream.
I think we can assume, but he was a good example of somebody who was like I would never meet. I would never be in a biker bar with a campaign manager named Mayhem, because his campaign manager who came was named Mayhem. Drinking beer and smoking cigars and talking politics.
So do you feel richer as a human being for having gone through this experience?
Emotionally, yeah. Financially, not so much. But,
not yet.
Well, yeah. I mean, anything's possible.
Everyone go buy this on Amazon today.
It's 99 cents for the ebook.
There you go.
But no, I feel great about doing it because it goes back to exactly what you're talking about. Is if you want to do something and everybody tells you don't, you should do it.
Do it.
Because there's a reason why you want to break out from that pack. And so I'm happy I did it for that. And again, I learned how to not be so success-based.
And the thing is, success, if we take it back for a second, again, you mentioned this, we equate success to financial reward or accolades or getting an Oscar. And clearly that's one facet of success. But I think another facet is definitely going into yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning and saying, am I happy with who I am? Am I happy with how I spend my day? Are you happy with how you spend your day?
Well, I could use a
Most
job,
of the time.
but other than being unemployed.
But I was going to say you voluntarily did that to pursue your passion, so it'll come back around.
It's a trade-off that I made because I actually had worked for Queen Latifah. Right. The show was canceled. I didn't know what else to do, and there was that moment. You know what? You always want to do a book. I think there's potential in these people. Give it a try. And it was kind of as simple as that to get me to do it. There were a couple of things that convinced me along the way. Like I had a job interview with, this is in the book, I had a job interview with a editor of a Hollywood website, like a very big, well-known Hollywood website for a job opening. She said, well, if we hire you, can you start in a week? And I said, well, no, I'm going to go on this trip and do this book. And she said, oh, what's the book? I told her. She laughed, like literally out loud laughed, and said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Nobody's going to buy it. But I remember walking out of there going, all right, well, I got to do it now.
That's fantastic, absolutely.
Yes. It was a very big turning point.
I'm going to just on that note, because I wanted to, I meant to tease this at the beginning of the show and I forgot. Donald Fisher. Anyone know who Donald Fisher is? No, I didn't know either who Donald Fisher was, but I know you all know The Gap, the store The Gap. Yes. All right, so Donald Fisher's story is really a fascinating one as well, and he took a leap. He was he ran hotels. He was a hotel manager, and this was back in the 70s, and he had bought a pair of Levi's, Levi jeans, and they weren't fitting properly, so he wanted to go back and return them. At the time, Levi's were being sold through department stores, so through Macy's or through Sears or whatever the department stores were. And when he went back, they didn't have his size. They didn't have a lot of selection. And, he got really frustrated. And he thought, I don't want to drive across town. I don't want to wait 3 weeks for them to ship it in. And so he approached Levi's, the brand, and he said to them, I think it would be a really great idea for you to have a standalone Levi's store. And they kind of thought, no, we've got our distribution through these big department stores that have, their clientele. And he thought, well, okay. So he went back and he churned over this idea for a while, and he thought, no, this is a really good idea, like a standalone store with your own brand. So at the age of 44, again, to my point of LA40, it's never too late to start something new, he decided to go into the clothing retail business with no clothing retail experience, but this drive to try to add value in some capacity. The Gap was his brand label. The Gap store was the first store in history to ever be a standalone store that was actually selling its own brand. So before that, you know, we see Levi's stores now, we see Chanel stores now. This was the first store ever to have the brand be the standalone store. He has had a net worth of $3.3 billion because of this idea. Bought Banana Republic, started Old Navy. So you know what? If you have an idea and somebody shoots it down, if you see a need in the marketplace, and clearly that worked for Berry's, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's a niche. You need to find your own niche, and you need to believe on yourself, not on what people tell you. Yeah. I agree. That's what it is.
Yeah. So now y'all know Donald Fisher.
There'll be a test afterwards.
Right.
So. I mean, actually, you know, it's odd driving over here. There was a song on the radio. I don't know if you remember the song. Everybody wears sunscreen. It was, God, 15, 20.
What radio station do you listen to?
It was like 20 years ago. It was an old song.
We're going to uninvite him to Berry's.
It was a graduation address that a Chicago Tribune reporter had done, and Boz Lerman took it and put it to music. But within that, there was this line that I'd forgotten about, and then I heard it again, saying that, you know, in the end, the race is long, and it's only with yourself. That the only person who can judge whether something is a good idea and whether it's worth it is you. Like nobody, people can give you their opinion, but the only factual way to know if it's right is to do it. And to not get hung up on, will I succeed?
But that's easier said than done if you have to pay your bills. Like you want to go do something, right? And you're an example of this. But the reality is I have to pay my mortgage.
I was going to say, I mean...
how do you get around
the question is to ask yourself, how far do I want to go and how much I'm going to put into it to make it work? So, yes, you can have the idea, but how much are you willing to put of yourself to make that idea work as well? So don't think the idea it's enough. You need to commit to that idea 24/7. It's like having a new baby. We talk about a new baby need 24 hours attention, correct? Any business you do need the same attention. And the way how you raise that baby is going to depend on you to become successful or not, to become a good person later on.
And I'm sure there is sacrifice involved. I'm sure there's been sacrifice, you know. That
she can talk about sacrifice.
Well, that just reminds me how a lot of people come up to us or come up to Raphael and say, you know, I want to start a business and I want to start a restaurant, but they don't really realize how much work it is. And that's, I think, why a lot of restaurants don't last in Los Angeles, because they don't go past a certain point where you really have to work hard to actually break into, like, get people to know you and do all the work that's involved to finally get people into your restaurant. But then even after that point, there's a lot of work. And nowadays, even like with social media, for example, it's a whole new market and a whole new way of doing things.
And a whole new effort that's needed.
Yes.
The first 3 years when we opened Berry's, I was at the store 17 hours a day for 3 years, every day. That's a sacrifice I made. And even in our relationship, I mean, Tensha was with me, helping me, but for 3 years, 365 days a year, I was at the store 17 hours a day.
But
sometimes 18.
The testament to that is multiple stores and a 20-year history. But it doesn't come overnight.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
So that and the team we choose to do it with, I think, our success, it's because of our team as well. The idea was great. The concept was fantastic, but the idea did not came to what it is today if I didn't have the team I had at the time to start it with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then to make them believe
in the vision,
in my idea, in my vision. That was one of the most biggest challenge for me, was to motivate them to see my vision and to go with it and to
take the leap with you.
And it's fantastic. They did, and they took the leap, and they're still with me today, and we're having a wonderful time doing it. And tonight we're celebrating our 20 years, which is Berry's Cafe.
If you're local to Los Angeles, Berry's, you have to check it out, and maybe not necessarily tonight. Tonight it's overbooked. So if you want to drive by and check out the paparazzi and the red carpet, you're welcome welcome to do that.
Yeah, we have like 850 RSVP tonight. I don't know where we're gonna put them, so it's gonna be interesting.
I'm not going to ask then. Right? I'm not gonna,
No, you were invited.
I'm not going to try.
They're gonna be coming throughout the night. I
Right,
think.
yeah.
About 3:30. You'll see me about 3:30.
I think you're for the signature dish we were talking about this. Craig and I actually, both of us, have a deathly allergic to shellfish. And one of the signature dishes at Barry's is a lobster pizza.
Correct. But we do have a lot of good things, so we can.
All right, good.
There is
All
for
right.
everyone.
Right.
There is for everyone. We have. It's funny because when we open Barry's and we're serving this huge 20-inch pizza on the tables, everyone said, "Oh, I'm concerned about the carbs." And I said, "Listen, it's a thin crust.
thin
You,
crust.
you don't have to eat the whole thing." And it's funny because we have most of the top model who lives in LA come and eat at Barry's Cafe. And it's funny, the thing they eat the most at Barry's and the top model are my pizza, which is interesting. And some of them never had pizza before in their life.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
now
But
they're
they come
spoiled.
to Barry's and they come because they wanted to try that lobster pizza or
Right.
their products.
We
So
can
that's it's a
obviously-
compliment
You
for
can
us.
obviously have
absolutely.
salads and salmon and
Oh, you've got a really
all the
varied
healthy
menu,
stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
we also have a lot of bodybuilders that come for their cheat days.
Yeah, we have gluten free. We have
We have
all-
gluten free, so we
Right.
have
Yeah, so-
something for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Great.
there is everything.
Yeah.
There is something for everyone. So
Right.
yeah.
Terrific.
And I don't know. Just to follow up when you mentioned the financial, or like,
Oh.
how do you make that leap? I will just say,
What can you tell us?
I mean, I had a little bit of money saved from my Latifah experience because
Sure.
TV pays actually pretty well. And that was part of what made me go, all right, ordinarily I could never do this because it's going to cost me a ton. And it did, and I'll never make that money back. But because it was a lot.
Well, you made Strike It super famous. You're on my show, Craig.
That's
Come on.
true. And each of you
There you
will
go.
be going to buy one after.
That's right.
You promise. But like I couldn't have done it unless I had a little bit of money, but I had to make sure that it was not about money and that I would just do whatever it took, if freelance writing, whatever it took to survive. And that's what I've been doing, and I don't regret it. Again, it would be nice
Right.
to make more money, but I don't regret it because I didn't make it about money.
Right. We'd love to get you involved in this conversation. If you are thinking of taking a leap of faith or have taken one yourself, we'd love to hear from you. We do have a dial-in number. We've got a few minutes here. If you're watching and you want to get involved in this conversation, it's 818-570 5085, 818-570-5085. We'd love to hear your story if you've taken a leap. Craig, the thing is, I think you had this dream from when you were 4 years old, or in fourth grade, right? I think success, you can measure this as a very successful venture for you, because I would have hated to see you get to the age of 80 and still have that
Correct.
want.
Correct.
You know, whatever happens in life, however the next 30 years, 40 years of your life goes, you will never have the
That's a
regret
good
of not
point.
having done it.
Yeah.
So well said.
You
I agree
know,
with you.
I think that's the important
Absolutely.
part.
It's I do hate to picture myself at 80, but that part I agree with. But yeah, I mean, it's I hate to keep like kind of driving home the same sort of point, but when you talked about Walt Disney getting rejected
Right.
all that many times,
Yeah.
as I was promoting the book, I think I had some book signings or something, and I remember listening to a podcast interviewing Elizabeth Gilbert, I
Okay.
think her name is,
Uh-huh.
the Eat,
Yeah,
Pray,
Eat,
Love
Pray, Love.
Sure, yeah.
author. Who kept talking about how she was rejected over and over, and nobody would listen to her. And my reaction, and then she would go, well, but look at me now, look what I've done. And my feeling was that's the worst example you can give anybody.
Why?
Because then everybody thinks, oh, I stick it out, then I'm going to be as successful as Elizabeth Gilbert. Probably not, but that doesn't make any difference. Like again, if you go into it with an expectation that's beyond just the work itself, you will be disappointed. I mean, I think it just.
But I think it's great, the fact that you took the leap of faith to do it. I think that it says so much about you.
Oh, absolutely.
To think out of the box and to
Yeah.
do something you really wanted to do. It doesn't really matter the result, the importance, it's the fact that
Yeah.
you did it.
And that's
Much
going to be
more
the
important.
gift to your
Yes.
kids. And as,
Yeah.
as
Exactly.
Raphael said, maybe they don't
Yeah.
recognize it at 19, but they will
But they
recognize
will.
it at 30.
They will.
You know.
I mean, I think it's just, again, it's important. And each of these people in there was doing the same thing, and I think that's what made this a little more comfortable for me. is doing the crazy thing, because I like to
Did
think...
you hear from any of them after Donald Trump won? Did they call you up and say, hey?
Should have been me. I mean, I've heard from a couple since then who... A couple of them actually who agree with what the book ended up kind of saying, is there's a hunger for something new and something different. They knew it wouldn't be them, but they knew that people wanted something different, which is why they did it. And the example, I know you mentioned 1,300, but by the time Election Day rolled around, I think it was 2,500.
2,500 people.
Whereas in 2012, there were 500 roughly.
Oh, wow.
So at some point in the last 4 years, there was this, voting drops, but the number of people who want to be president went up 5 times. And not that any of them will, but I think that's an indication that, that something's going on.
Yeah, when they start to see the feedback about Trump, I'm sure it motivated a lot of people too.
Well, actually, when that happens, they'll want to buy a book about the election. And I know of one.
No.
In closing, can I, from all three of you, just get one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with for somebody that may want to take a leap but just is sort of on the fence? What would you advise them? We'll start with Raphael.
Like I said earlier, do what you love and don't be afraid to try something you've never done before. You'll be very surprised what you're going to achieve.
Tensha?
I think it's just taking that leap blindly, like trying kind of what you said as well, not listening to so many people, because you can get so mixed up. Somebody can tell you this, somebody can tell you that, but you have to go with what's in your heart because you don't want to regret it in the future.
I would just actually go back to what I said a little bit ago too, of just do the crazy thing, because we all have the crazy thing. That one thing you wanted to do since you were a kid, and everybody said, you know what, you got to be a doctor, you can't be an actor, or whatever it is. Just do the crazy thing, because what the worst that can happen is turns out to be crazy. And you knew that going in.
You just go back to the crappy job you always had.
But at least you
buy the book.
Right, buy the book. And I was going to say, speaking of that, Craig, let our listeners know, where can we find this book? Where can they buy it if they want to go buy it?
It's available some bookstores, but Amazon.com has it. Thank you, Carol Merrill. A reference that only old people get, I think, probably. But it's on Amazon. It's on BarnesandNoble.com.
Perfect. And I'm gonna reiterate the title. It's called The Candidates. Do you see that?
Candidates.
The Candidates by Craig Tomashoff, running for president when nobody knows your name.
That would be my year's work. So
there you go. Please support Craig. I've read it. It's a lovely book of the vignettes of these, unique individuals who thought they'd throw their name in to be considered. Tensha, where can we find more of Berri's? Where are you folks located, and how can we find you?
So we're at 8412 West 3rd Street. We have Berri's Kitchens located at 7123 Sunset Boulevard. There's also one in Westwood on Santa Monica and Sepulveda. And soon in Sherman Oaks, soon in Dubai, soon in Paris.
Wow, amazing. I love the global element.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you can also go to our Instagram, Berri's on 3rd, Berri's Cafe, and Berri's Kitchen.
Fantastic.
Come and try it if you haven't yet.
I want to say thank you to all three of you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. This is what I love to do, is talk, which is why I'm on talk radio.
It's good to see you at work.
Absolutely. I'm always at Berri's eating. That's right.
That's work too.
That's work too. But for anyone, again, that is thinking of taking a leap, I hope these stories inspired you today. And feel free to gab with me anytime. You can find me on my website. It's globalgab.com. That's global-gab, where I gab with you about top trending international events and headlines. Also, you can catch up with me anytime via Twitter and Instagram. That's at KaterinaCozias.com on both of those. I guess it's not a .com. At Katerina Cozias on Instagram and on Twitter. Next week, we are going to be delving into, have you ever wanted to start a charity? Has a charity been speaking to you, and how the heck in your 40s and 50s and 60s would you go about starting a charity? I'm going to let you know how. We've got some really interesting and inspirational guests that are going to be joining us next week. For now, that was our show. Good morning, Los Angeles. I'm Katerina Cozias. We'll see you again next time.
Thank
you.
That's right.
Thank you.
You well.
You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.